Hello and welcome to tutorial 2 for SketchUp, 3D layout, and CAD. So in this tutorial we're going to move into the 3D space. So in the first one we kind of like constrained ourselves to the basic drawing tools and thought about things in kind of a 2D sense, just to get a sense of the basic convention, the idea that a lot of the drawing is done with a 2-click operation, 1 click to start and another click to stop drawing or complete a line, and then the use of the number keys to get precise measurements. So in this one we actually do have a start file, so you can go ahead and download that, saving it to my downloads folder, and then re-uploading it to the SketchUp app. And of course you can access the SketchUp app from your from the main course homepage. This is my dummy class where that's the only way I can like demonstrate this stuff. So as the SketchUp app loads, I'm going to pause it. Okay, now that we're recorded, I thought I deleted this old version of it. Yeah, go ahead and delete it. So one way you can do this is you can just click on your file that you downloaded and just drag it in. Oh, wait, I can't do that quite yet. I have to go into my Trimble Connect and find my Carp 214 folder. And then I can click and drag it right into SketchUp, and then I'll be able to open it right here. So go to your Trimble Connect folder, find the folder you created for this class, and then drag and drop it in. If you're using like Firefox, you might have a button up here that will allow you to just drag it right into the SketchUp window. So we're going to open it, and what we have here is a bunch of roof lines that we're going to play with. So this is sort of an opportunity to play around with moving around in 3D space and doing some of our 3D tools, our tools that allow us to extrude things into, from being just a flat surface to being an actual 3D model. So we're going to recreate this series of roofs. And it's actually all fairly quick and easy. The first thing I want to point out, though, is how to move around in your 3D space. So this is where you're going to want a 3-button mouse. You want a mouse with 2 buttons, a left click and a right click, and a middle mouse scroll wheel, which also acts as a button. So go down to Target, Walmart, wherever, Office Max, get one. They're not super expensive. But if you have something like a Chromebook or a touchpad, it's not going to suffice. You're gonna be endlessly frustrated. An actual 3-button mouse is what you want in order to make this as easy as possible. So over here on the right, down here at the bottom, these are all of the tools for moving around in 3D space. So if I grab the hand tool, I can pan. If I grab this little whirligig tool, I can rotate around. And the zoom tool is right here, so I can mouse in and out to zoom in on different things. But honestly, you're never going to use these tools because you're going to learn how to do this the correct way. To rotate around the map, you don't use that rotate tool. You just simply click in on the mouse wheel. So you have the mouse wheel here. You just click on that and notice that the cursor, the pointer, turns into the rotate tool. And now you move the mouse around and you'll rotate around the model, whatever your model is. This is the easiest, quickest way to get around. Now you'll notice if you keep holding the middle mouse button and then press the shift key, it turns into the pan tool. So that's how you move around horizontally. So eventually you'll just keep one hand on the keyboard, one hand on the mouse, and then you'll just kind of seamlessly move around the map. Scrolling the mouse wheel allows you to zoom in on different areas. Notice where I point is where I zoom. So if I point at this cross gable text, or the 512 gable text, or the gable text, it'll zoom in on whatever I'm pointing at, which is a really handy little feature. So practice doing this. Practice moving around with these tools. Using the shift key, the middle mouse button, and the scroll wheel. And the scroll wheel is the middle mouse button. So you actually just click in on it because it acts as a button. So practice this. This is the way you're going to want to do it. You can use these tools to do it, but it's going to be slow. You're going to find yourself frustrated more often than not. So let's start with what we want to do here. We want to build a few roof lines. And the first couple don't even have a building here for you to work on. So I set up a little template for you to work with. And this will give you an opportunity to draw some things in 3D space. Rather than going over here and looking at just the top, we want to see from an angle. So you grab your rectangle tool, and you can actually just mouse over these guide points, and they will allow you to draw in your rectangle. So you just draw from one corner to the opposite corner, and then you have the bottom for this this building. Now, the first 3D extrusion tool is right here. This is the push-pull tool, and basically what it does is it allows you to push or pull on any face to extrude it out into 3 dimensions. So if I select that tool and then click on this face and then pull it up, I actually will have a 3D object. A solid object that has, extends in 3D space. Now, one of the cool things that you can do is you can, when you're extruding this up, let's say we want this to be extruded to 12 feet, is I click on it, I start pulling it up, I don't click again, I take my hands off the mouse, and then I type in 1, 2, here, I should actually move this so you can see this down here. So I'm moving it up, and I type 1, 2, okay, click on it, 1, 2, and then feet. Enter. Now it's exactly 12 feet. If we grab the tape measure tool and measure from here to here, it's 12 feet. So, now to make this roof, it's actually, the gable roof is really simple. You just take your pencil tool, your line tool, and click on the midpoint, which is easy to find because it'll infer to it, and then draw across it in the green axis till you get to the midpoint of the other side of the roof. Now we're going to grab this thing right here with looks like 4 little arrows. That's the move tool. And we'll mouse over this line till it turns blue, and then you can do this and see how I can move it up and down. Well, I want to get it so that it's moving straight up and down, which is kind of tricky to do because, this thing's moving all over the place here. The quick way to do that, notice I'm not clicking on anything, I'm just moving the mouse. I clicked on it once to pick it up. Now push the up key on your keyboard and it will constrain it to the vertical axis. See how I can no longer, if I move the mouse, all it does is moves in the up and down direction. And now what I can do is just infer to the other example roof and click. And that will create it, it'll make it exactly the same height. So there's our first one. Now let's try something a little bit more complicated. Use the push, so let's start with the 512 pitch roof. We'll use this surface, click on it to drag it up, infer over to the corner of this other house so that you have your house shape. And then once again, this time we're going to do something a little bit different to get our angle. We want exactly a 512 pitch. Instead of using this tape measure, we're going to use a protractor. So you grab the protractor tool, which looks like this, and then get it on this, start at this point, and then draw out a little ways onto this line, and then now I've got my my line that and again, I'm not clicking on it, I just click, I click once here, I click once here to get my line here, and now I'm rotating around in this circle, and now I want a 512 pitch, so I'm going to type 5:12, 512 pitch, enter, and there it is. So now for every 5 inches it goes up, it goes across 12 inches. So that's our 512 pitch. And you can do the same thing for a 1012 pitch, a 1212 pitch, whatever the pitch of the roof line that you're trying to create is. So now what we want to do is create our line across. So we'll start at the midpoint and we'll drag it over to here. And that creates our line our roof line, this line right here. Now we'll select it. I'm going to use the select tool to select this line. And then I'm going to grab the move tool and I'm going to grab it here to start moving it up. and then I will make sure it's in the vertical axis by pushing up on the keyboard, and then I'm just going to pull it up until it says constrained on line intersect line. So now it's constrained to this. You notice it'll snap to the guideline that I already created, and there it is. Perfect. And let's deselect everything, and you can delete the guideline if you like with the eraser tool. Let's move on to the next one. So we're going to try to create a more complex roof line here. This is a cross gable, which means because we have like a little addition on here. So we're going to use what's called the follow me tool. It's a little bit different. This works in a slightly different way. So let's take, first let's add this little addition to the house. So I'll take the line tool and use these two guides that are already here to draw in that line. And then I'll grab my push-pull tool to pull this out, and I'll infer back to the example house. Boom. And now I want to create this complicated roof line, and I can actually do this in an interesting way. Let's grab the tape measure real quick. So it's in this measuring tool kit here, and we'll measure from this point down to this line. So it says it's 4 foot 2 inches. So we're going to grab the pencil tool. We're going to start at the midpoint, and now here I want to make sure that I'm drawing in the vertical axis, which is the blue one. So I click once to start the line, I drag it up a little bit, so make sure that's on the blue axis, and then type 4 foot 2. And you don't actually have to put the inches sign, you can just put 4 foot 2, hit enter, and you'll have your line. And then draw the other one down to this corner, and that will create our little face. So now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of, sort of like the push-pull tool, I want to extrude this out, but what I want to do, instead of just extruding it out and taking all this time to build this roof, there's actually a tool that SKETCHUP has that allows you to just follow it around the whole shape. So in here, the follow me tool looks like this. It's right here. If you're not sure which one of these two it is, it's the one, the tooltip will pop up and it'll say follow me. So we're going to do this the hard way first, and then I'll show you the easy way. So the hard way is this. You click on that face and watch it start following. You'll see this red line kind of following the path that you want to take, and then we're going to follow this line, and then follow this line, and this line, and this line, and then we're going to stop right here. I don't want to go any further, and I don't want to go here because that'll create the hipped roof. We want to just stop right here, so it goes just to this point and click. Ugh, SKETCHUP crashed on me here. Oh, there we go. It's fine. I'm not entirely certain what that error was, but it seems to have resolved itself. Now we've got some extra geometry here that we don't need, and you can't just go around deleting this because it's really going to mess up your model. So instead, oh crap, I'll just do I'll redraw it. Boom. Okay, way to fix this is to actually just draw the extra geometry that you need. So grab the line. What the heck is going on here? Boom. If you guys have this same weird thing, come on now. Grab my line tool. And then draw in here. So that kind of creates this little peak right here, and then draw another one up to here. So that'll create that other one. And now we can actually start deleting all this extra geometry that we don't need. So you can just take the eraser tool and there it is. There's our thing. But you'll notice that this one is flat and this one is not. So we can actually fix that by just grabbing the move tool, clicking on that corner, the end point, and then just pulling it this way. So to make sure that this locks to the red axis, well, it looks like it's doing a pretty good job of that anyway. To make sure it locks to the red axis, hit the right key on your keyboard, the right arrow key, and then infer to this surface down here. So start dragging to the right and left, and then move your mouse so that it's on top of this surface, and you notice it pops back so that it's constrained to that plane, and then you'll have your thing. To clean things up, you can even take your eraser tool and just erase any additional lines that you don't need anymore. You can do it over here too. Get rid of that stuff. Oh, right over there. make things look a little cleaner. Now, this is kind of a pain. This is kind of the hard way to do it. So let's do the follow me tool in the easy way. So check this out. Use the select tool, which is this thing that just, all it does is let you select things. So I'm going to select this surface, this face, the top of the roof. So I'm going to use the follow me tool and say, I want you to follow the outer edges of this face. So now I grab the follow me tool and then click on the profile that was created for you, and then it will just create the roof, just like autopilot. You can do the same thing over here. Select tool, click on this one, and this one's more like the cross gable, only it's both sides are hipped instead of this one where they're straight. So we select this surface, we grab the follow me tool, and then click on the part. Well, I don't know why it's inside out. That's weird. Select. It worked perfectly when I did. There we go. When I did this on my own earlier. So there it is. So and again, this one is hipped and not gabled. And we can choose to use the line tool to fill in this geometry that's missing. And then use the eraser tool to get rid of the extra geometry that we don't want. So you may have to rotate around to make sure that you're erasing the correct geometry. If you do accidentally delete something that you shouldn't, you can just take the line tool and redraw it in, and it'll reestablish those faces. So it's not too terribly. It's not a disaster if something that you weren't supposed to delete gets erased. It'll fix itself. You can do the same thing on this one. We can select the top surface, grab the follow me tool, click on that, and it will create our really cool overlaid hip roof. Boom. And then we'll erase these that we don't need over here. Boom. And there it is. Now, a couple of fun, interesting roofs that are popular these days. A mansard roof, which has the double slope. We're going to look at another tool here. This is also in the kind of 3D tool menu right here. So underneath the push-pull and the follow me is the offset tool. Now what this does is it allows you to click on a surface and then get an offset, a perfect offset based on, the distance between the outside. So I can make this go out, I can make it go in, and it will it'll create some new geometry that's offset from the original geometry. So what I want to do is, let's see, I believe this is 2 feet. I want to go in 2 feet, so I hit 2 feet, enter, and that creates a 2 foot offset here. And this is actually really cool. If I try this again, if I double click on here, it'll create another 2 foot offset. So that's actually a really neat tool if you want to build a like a pyramid style roof. Anyway, Control Z to go back and undo all that. And so I just want this. And I will use the push-pull tool to grab this. But the problem is it's going to do this. So the push-pull tool is actually not the tool we want to do because it creates that new geometry. So instead, we want to use what's called the auto-folding feature. So the push-pull tool creates new geometry and extrudes it out at a right angle. What we can do with the move tool is, if you look at it, if I click on this face and start moving it around, you'll see down here at the bottom it says toggle auto-fold. Well, the auto-fold is already on. All I have to do, right now it's trying to keep it in the same plane, which is a bit strange, but let's constrain it to the vertical plane by pushing the up key and see what happens. Notice how it's now created this new geometry here, which is allowing me to automatically fold that outer, basically this plane right here, this surface right here, is being folded to accommodate the new roof line. So I click on this, so it's moving, I push up the up key on the keyboard and then start dragging it up and down, and you'll see how it creates the new geometry. And then I'm just going to infer back to here because it's the easiest way to do this. Next thing we want to do is create our X on the top here. Boom. And then use the move tool to grab that point right there, constrain it to the vertical axis, and then infer back to the other one. And I have this new roof. Now you might use your own like measurements and stuff like that to make it more precise, but I'm just trying to show you inferencing and just demonstrating the basic 3D extrusion tools. So you don't need to know the exact measurements for all these things. Just the quick and dirty way is the best. Now the gambrel roof, we can actually do a little cheat to make this like barn style roof. We're going to use the arc tool. So we want the 3-point arc right here, not this. The default one, I'm not really sure why. I hardly ever use it. This one, the 3-point arc, is much more useful. So what we'll do is we'll click here to start the arc, and then we'll click here, and then it's gonna, we'll go in the vertical axis. We'll constrain to the vertical axis by pushing up, and then we'll infer over to here. Now right now it is a smooth arc. So what I can do is type 4S, and notice how that appears down here, and push enter. Now it's a 4-sided arc, and it looks exactly like the one over here. So that's cool. So I can make an arc that has 4 sides, and that creates that that less curvy looking roof thing. Now we may have a problem here when I use the push-pull tool, is I'll push-pull it over here, and look at what it does. Look at the difference between this roof and this roof. This one has this, it smooths out the curved surface, whereas this one has, 4 distinct, discrete faces. So this is not what we want. And as it turns out, the reason it does that is if I take the select tool and select this, any one of these line segments, this isn't 4 individual line segments, it's looking at the whole curve as one line. So what I want to do is I want to explode this curve. So I select it with the select tool, right click on it, and say explode curve. And now it is 4 distinct line segment. You don't see anything happen, but you will when you push pull this to here and infer to that outer edge and end up with this nice clean roof line. And that's it. A bunch of roofs. Simple, great way to demonstrate construction, geometry, and the basics of 3D modeling in SKETCHUP. And we'll see you in the next tutorial. Before we see you in the next tutorial, I'm sorry, I restarted the recording here. We want to save this. I'm going to demonstrate turning it in again because I think that's important. So we're letting it save. Saved. And then we're going to go back home. And we're going to, actually, we can do this inside the model. Go to the menu here and hit download, and we're gonna hit download 2021 version. Which version of SKETCHUP would you like to use? We'll use the most recent one, 2021. It'll download it into my downloads folder. Let's call it, so there's no confusion, we'll call it tutorial 2 complete and hit enter. So that's the one that I want to turn in. I'll go back over to Canvas, submit the assignment, drag it straight up out of my web browser's download pane there onto this choose file thing and hit submit. And that is the end of the tutorial. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next one.